right. Should we get to some point spreads?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, tonight we got the New York Jets traveling to the Cleveland Browns with Trevor Siemian starting this game. And the Browns are 7.5-point favorites at home. Man, that's a bigger point spread than I wanted to see.
Yeah, two of the best defenses in the NFL. Probably, yeah, two of the best in the AFC as well. Obviously, with the Ravens up there too. Yeah, Trevor Siemian with a game-winning drive last week, but otherwise outside of that, played horrible. Breece Hall, looks like he's finally recovering from his ACL and played a great game as well, where he's not just bursting off one big play for his whole stat line. He has
and their
lots of little
offensive line
games.
sucks balls.
Yeah, their offensive line is horrible. Their offensive line is horrible, and against this Cleveland Browns defense, with the Browns just having enough to get it done on their offensive side of the ball. And Amari Cooper is the kind of guy that does beat good cornerbacks as well because of his good route running. Like, he doesn't disappear because he's come up with somebody with good physical ability. I'm going to pick the Browns in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Browns minus the 7.5 also. I just don't like the size of that point spread.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
All right, so we got the Lions traveling to the Dallas Cowboys. I've been saying this for 5 weeks now. The point spread is the Cowboys favored by 5.5. I've been saying this for at least 5 weeks now. The Cowboys just walk the Lions and let everybody know that the Lions as a playoff team are average at best. And so give me the Cowboys minus the 5.5.
On this one, I think we've got a really good matchup here for the Cowboys. To be perfectly honest, the Lions'
the Lions' defense sucks ass.
Exactly. So against the team where their defense can't really stop us, if we manage to get 2 touchdowns in the first, our defense is good enough to stop you, especially at the start of games when they're fresh off the they're fresh off the bench as well. And the Detroit offensive line is good, not great. What I'm worried about is that fast pass game over the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown. That does worry me, but I think we have the speed at cornerback to take that out of the game.
You just double him, and what else do they got?
Yeah. Well, Sam Laporta as well, but yes.
Well, I meant for a receiver, not tight end, because you got safeties or a linebacker on the tight end. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. So I am worried about that game over the middle. I think this could be a sneaky shootout. What's the over-under on this?
5.5. Or the over-under.
The over-under.
The thing is, too, it's 53.5. The thing is, too, with the Lions, they don't play well from behind. Jared Goff is not a come-from-behind type quarterback. So I think you guys punch him in the mouth right off the bat. And Mike McCarthy, if you're listening, if you win that coin toss, just receive. Stick a touchdown on them right away and put them on their heels. And I'm not usually one who says receive. I'm usually like defer to the second half. But just put a touchdown on them and make them fight from their backs against the wall right off the jump. And for some reason, the Cowboys are really good on their first drive.
Yeah, we're excellent on our first drive. Like first quarter points. First quarter and fourth quarter points as Dallas Cowboys are excellent. There's also the issue of the Lions run game, which is also very good, but they can't defend the run at all. So Tony Pollard could have a huge game here. I'm going to take the Cowboys minus 5.5 as well.
All right. So now we got the San Francisco 49ers traveling to the Washington Commanders. 12.5-point favorites on the road for the fucking 49ers.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Yeah. The 49ers, after a tough loss against the Ravens, are going to get a feel-good game here, and Brock Purdy's going to put his name back in the ring for MVP because he'll throw for 5 touchdowns and something crazy.
They're still fighting for the number 1 spot seed. So I think they come out. I think they actually dunk on Washington. I'll take the minus 12.5.
Yeah. I'll take the minus 12.5 on this one.
It's wild. We both just took minus 12.5 on a fucking point spread.
Yeah, the Commanders have been an interesting team this year because at the start of the year there was they're a feisty team. They're this and this. Sam Howell has the most big time throws in the NFL, the most, what is it, big time or big play throws in the NFL that year. He now has one in the past 3 games in terms of big down throws. Like, people have caught up with Eric Bieniemy's offense, it seems like, and
they traded away their best 2 pass rushers, which doesn't fucking help either, right?
Yeah. And so then, for some reason, mid-season they trade away both. Like, both is the weird one.
On the same day, right? Like, didn't they trade them both on the? But the thing is, too, like, everybody on that team is already packed and ready for week 18 to be over, so they can go on vacation.
As soon as you've traded your 2 best defensive players in the same day, everybody knows it's vacation time from there, right? Holiday time.
You know what I like to say? 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Like, that's them. Like,
yeah. They're gone.
They're on their way.
They're gone. And the 49ers are not gone. As you say, the loss last week and the Eagles' schedule means that they're playing out now until the end of the season for top pick. So good luck whoever they've got next week as well.
Yeah, I think the 49ers finish out with the Rams, but don't quote me on that.
I think so too.
All right. So speaking of fighting for the number 1 and a big-ass point spread, you got the Arizona Cardinals traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 11. I think the Eagles will win this game. I don't think it'll be more than 11 points. So I'm going to take the Cardinals plus the 11 because I think the Eagles win. But the Eagles don't win by double digits. That's not their style of game. And I kind of made fun of you just jokingly when you took – I forgot who you took over the Vikings. And I was like, it was a 3-point spread. You never take a team who loses by, or every game's within 1 score to.
It was the Bengals.
Yeah. So I'm taking my own advice on this, and I'm going Eagles win, but I'm taking Arizona and 11 points.
Yeah, on this one, I kind of had to clean my eyes after seeing that the Eagles were favored by minus 11. Because again, and I said this last week, and you also made fun of me for this. They haven't deserved this big of a point spread. They haven't done anything to deserve this size point spread. I must have just been talking
shit because I don't even remember making fun of you for that.
Yeah. You they don't. You said it's quite funny. You use the term they don't deserve it because it's the Eagles. Like, you don't say the word
I think I was probably just taking
anybody else.
At your fandom. Yeah.
But yeah, the Eagles have done nothing to deserve this. As you say, they don't win games like this by double digits. And the Cardinals, they played the 49ers kind of close for 3 quarters, and then it obviously got out of hand after, or maybe 2.5 quarters.
It got kind of out of hand. Worst quarterback.
Yeah, they beat thanks for that. Yeah, they beat the Cowboys with the worst quarterback. They have.
I'm just saying they're not as bad. Right. They're bad, but they're not as bad as their record says they are.
Yeah, the only problem the Cardinals have right now is, like, Kyler Murray has no one to throw to. Like, and a lot of the time we say, and Kyler Murray's going to keep his job in Arizona, I think, and they're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. to go play with him. They could probably trade down to draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
I agree with you, except I think the Bears might take him at number 1, but we'll see.
Which would be such a mistake. But yes, that could also happen. If Atlanta doesn't come with a good enough package for Justin Fields, then the Bears could probably do that.
I think
would be ridiculous.
Fields is doing just enough to fuck the Bears over, and they stick with it. Because that's what Jordan loves doing with the Packers, and I love it. But maybe I'm just being a homer and want that to. Maybe I'm like manifesting. Right, because that's what I want to happen in the NFC North. I want Justin Fields to stay. I want Jordan Love to stay in this division because I don't want them getting good quarterbacks, because I think Jordan Love's going to be average. When it's all said and done, he'll be a middle of the road, 15, 16 quarterback every year. And I think Justin Fields is what Justin Fields is. And I don't think he's ever going to light the world on fire passing. I personally think the Bears defense is starting to look better.
Yeah.
They're starting to actually pick up. I say, sound crazy, fire everyone. Start over, build off that defense, and rebuild your offense. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. with the Eagles as well. I think the Eagles they're good for. They're always going to make mistakes. Like they're due quite a few mistakes in a game, which will cost them points. Like Jalen Hurts is interception prone this season. Like he is. That's the reality that people are going to have to get.
Look at Maddie's face when he says that. Everybody, just even if you have to rewind a little bit, that smile this motherfucker gets every time he gets to dunk on Jalen is just epic. He smiles and he tries not to, but it's this big smile that he's fighting back.
I was right. That's all I'm saying.
Look, Maddie, you've been right before on this show and never smiled like that.
Never had that smile. But by the way, it's not hate on Jalen. It's hate on the Eagles quarterback in general.
No, I get it. It's Eagles hate. I absolutely get it.
But yes, it's Eagles hate that happens to be true this time. So the Eagles are good for a few mistakes. Jalen Hurts is good for an interception, which means I think the Eagles will again get this win. Like, don't get me wrong, they're a much better team than the Arizona Cardinals, but plus 11 is way too big. They don't deserve it. They don't win games like that.
No, I agree. But so on to the next game. Can we just call this the Justin Fields Bowl? Because Atlanta Falcons are traveling to Soldier Field and the Bears are -3 favorites at home, which again, because of Vegas, means that Vegas thinks on a neutral field, these teams are pretty much equal. Give me Atlanta and the money line. I just think Bijan Robinson's going to open up some things. I think Atlanta's defense is good enough to contain Justin Fields. And I think Atlanta is still, I know Atlanta is still fighting for a playoff spot where the Bears are not. So I think that gives Atlanta a little more fuel to the fire to get in there and do something. So give me Atlanta plus the 3, or not plus the 3. Give me the money line, even though they're favored by the Bears are favored by 3. I'll take the money line.
Yeah, I just don't trust Arthur Smith to do what he should do to.
I knew that
and win this game.
Part of the reason I decided is so we'd actually pick something different here too.
Yeah, I don't trust Arthur Smith to use his weapons in the right way again. Last week, let's just get this up a sec. Last week he actually used Bijan Robinson last week, and they looked great. And then he started dialing up plays to get it to Johnny Smith again, and he's dialing up plays with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson so he can get the ball to Scotty Miller. Like it confuses me. I like Scotty Miller. I like Johnny Smith. They won 29 points to 10. They played really well. Taylor Heineke came into the team, and oh my God, like when they have a guy who'll actually throw the ball, they look great. But Bijan Robinson got 12 carries for 72 yards. He should have had way more than that in a win of 29 to 10. Should have had way more. He also had 7 receptions as well, which we agree is an extension of the run game. Kyle Pitts got 3 receptions. Drake London got 3 receptions. Johnny Smith got 4. I don't understand why he uses his weapons in that way, even in a win, and I don't trust him to do that. I also think Justin Fields has captured some weird thing here where finally nobody expects him to throw the ball, so he's just allowed to run and do what he does. And at points, sometimes when he's doing that, he is a special player and will be good to get you a win.
And where running quarterbacks have problems is when you get pressure up the middle, and that is where Atlanta can pressure you too. So that's why I took them. But don't get me wrong, I would not be fucking shocked if the Bears won this game. But if I had to bet it, I'm taking Atlanta and the money line.
Yeah.
All right. This is the 2 weeks in a row do we get amazing matchups for the Ravens. Miami's traveling to Baltimore. Baltimore is only a 3-point favorite in this game. I think this is going to be an electric game. I think this could be a playoff preview for everybody. And coming off such a big win of the 49ers, I think there's a letdown, and I think the Dolphins win this game. And I think the Ravens are a better team. But I think coming off a letdown because of the energy they put into beating the so-called best team in the NFL, and you had idiots like Florio who were like, what was his exact words? the 49ers are going to kick the Ravens' ass, I think was his exact words. I think like you get so hyped up for a game. I do believe in a letdown the week after. I do believe that there can be that energy. You gave up so much energy in that game, you don't even realize it. I think it's a trap game for the Ravens. I think the Ravens are a better team, but give me the Dolphins plus the 3 in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way on this one because the Dolphins also won in a really close and big game with a lot of energy. They also have the nerves of the Bills coming up behind them to take their top spot, which I don't think is going to happen because I think the Bills are always good for a loss, and they tried to do it this week against Giff Smith and the Chargers. Is that his name? Giff Smith? Is it Smith? I know it's Giff. Jiff.
Yeah, I don't know. It just makes me laugh every time I hear somebody say the name. Like, I think to myself, what were your parents thinking? I can't help but
it's great coaching job this week, Jiff. But like, you got to change your name by now.
It ain't nothing against him. It's just I wonder to myself, like, what were your parents thinking? You know, but I know some people hear my kid's name and go, "Why would you name your kid Justice?" So, like,
isn't it some sort of like peanut butter, like Jiff? Isn't
Jiff is probably the most famous peanut butter in the U.S.
Right. Okay. Cool. That makes sense. Anyway, sorry. Back to the Miami Dolphins. So the Miami Dolphins.
I got a quick question for you on this game, and I get it. You're going with it, but there's no right answer because I don't know the answer to myself. But who do you trust more, John Harbaugh or Mike McDaniel?
Oh, that's a weird question. So trust is probably John Harbaugh. Who do I think's a more interesting and innovative coach?
Love that
Mike
guy.
McDaniel, right?
Fucking love. Which like the in-season Hard Knocks is fucking amazing this year with the Dolphins. Okay. It is fucking amazing. I love the way he coaches. Last week, I don't know if you saw it, but he just looks at one of his coaches and he goes, "I'm gonna go kick some shit up," and then he just goes around and friendly fucks with the team, telling Tua, "I want to hear you talk shit after every completion. I want to hear you talk shit." Like, he's got these guys so amped. They love this dude. And I don't even mean this to be funny, but he's young enough where he dresses like them too, right? So like the skinny sweats, they relate with him. That's all I'm getting to is like he's an age where he is so relatable to these players, where a lot of times coaches are so much older that they're hard to relate to. Like, not a shot at Mike McCarthy, but what the fuck does he have in common with a 22-year-old? You know what I mean?
Stand like CeeDee Lamb and Mike McCarthy next to each other, you're going to struggle to have like a similar vibe. Like,
right. There's stuff about Mike McDaniel's like these players are feeling him. Like, I was not sure about him after watching a few interviews because he's not the most eloquent talker, like, speaker in the world. But then the more I watch him on Hard Knocks, and I'm like, oh, he's just does that little quirky shit with the media. Like, because I was thinking maybe, is he going to annoy his team like Dan Campbell would annoy me? But then I watch him, and he's not like that with his team. That's the quirky shit he does with the media, right? Like, he's really grown on me. I am so impressed with that guy.
Yeah, and he schemes up an amazing offense as well. Like, his offensive scheme that he's got going on. But I think John Harbaugh keeps his team in a more traditional way, kind of like very level. Like, John Harbaugh's been there. He's done it. And I think his team does relate to John Harbaugh a little bit. He's not like the old dude in the locker room, is he? He's like an old guy who keeps up to date and kind of knows what's going on. And they're very into their faith, aren't they? The hardballs. So I guess that's something that they relate to.
I also think it's very underrated with John Harbaugh is that he was a special teams coach. And people are like, you don't usually see the special teams coach become a head coach, which the more I think about it, why? He actually has to deal with every position group on the team for special teams, right? And most special teams coaches are actually loved by everybody on a team, and they know how to deal with all the different personalities. I think more and more teams, if you're not going to hire an offensive coach, don't be afraid to hire a special teams coach. Because
definitely.
Bisaccia would have been a great fucking hire for the Raiders. I don't care what anybody says as a special. And he's got Green Bay special teams looking like the best unit out of all three of theirs in Green Bay. So, like, there's something to be said, I think, about a special teams coach getting a head coaching job.
Yeah, definitely. And I trust the Ravens to stay more level after their win. Not that the Dolphins have gone crazy or anything. I just also think I do think there is something into the Dolphins on the road as well. The Dolphins and the Cowboys are incredibly similar. If the Dolphins Cowboys game was played in AT&T, the Cowboys probably would have won that game. They're very similar in the way that they play. They're very similar in the fact that they're not. There's questions about them on the road. So let's see how they go on the road in Ann Arbor to the Ravens.
There is, and we don't have to get into this now. There's something we can talk in the offseason, but there is now talk that they want to start making playoff games neutral field.
Okay. It nullifies the regular season, but we don't have to talk about it.
No, but how awesome would it be to be like the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to play in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl?
I think the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship
that's
game
what I meant. That's what I meant when I said playoffs.
Okay, that makes sense.
I didn't mean all the playoffs.
Yeah,
Sorry, I said that wrong. There's talk about making those like neutral.
They should be. They should be.
I think it'd be exciting. Yeah. Now, it'll fuck the owners because of the money you make from that game. They'll have to figure out a revenue split with that. But I think it would make it exciting to see some of these games like, you got two teams playing in Miami and it's Buffalo and fucking Green Bay. Well, they do different divisions, but you get my point.
Yeah. We can talk about it more in the offseason, but there's other cool shit that you can give to like the highest seed people as well. By the way, like in every other sport I know, the highest seed gets the most money, not is hamstrung in the draft and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's other cool things you can give to the top teams in the NFL. And
then I like that we're not I was worried for a little bit. You and I were going to ride the whole same picks all the way through. So now at least we went off with two of them, but I'm actually interested to see what you pick here because the Patriots traveling to Buffalo. Buffalo is favored by 13 at home. The Patriots are not good this year. I don't think the Buffalo Bills lose this game. I think they win this game. But with that defense that Bill Belichick always has out there, I don't think it's a 13-point game. So give me the Pats plus 13 in a loss.
Yeah, it's the same as what we said for the Bills against the Chargers. Do you trust the Buffalo Bills to be in a big point spread? Fuck no. Like, why would you? Josh Allen, again, great for turnovers. Like, if you ever want a turnover, you want to play against Josh Allen right now. Like,
and that is coaching.
You might get, you might get cooked. Like, don't get me wrong. He could Josh Allen could throw 3 interceptions and still cook you for 400 yards. It's not that kind of thing. But
do you think he throws that many turnovers with Kevin O'Connell, Mike Shanahan, Mike McCarthy, like these types of coaches? Because I don't. I think they put Josh Allen in better positions than he's being put in Buffalo because I don't think there's any way in a Mike McCarthy's West Coast offense he throws as many interceptions. I don't think there's any way in a KOC or a Mike Shanahan with the talent that he has because he's super fucking talented. Like, and I know I like to bust your balls, but it is an anomaly that Dak threw that many interceptions in a Mike McCarthy offense last year, right? Because if you go back through, Aaron Rodgers never threw that many fucking touchdowns or interceptions with Mike McCarthy. Like Aaron Rodgers was usually single digits. Even Brett Favre, who was a fucking gunslinger and had 30 interceptions in a season, not with Mike McCarthy, he didn't. Like, you know what I mean? So like, there's something like, I think the coaches are letting him down. And then now you're finally seeing a running game. Right? And you called it early because I was off James Cook after last year. You called it early with James Cook this year, but I don't think you're going to run on Bill Belichick the way you ran on some of these other teams. And as odd as it sounds, I think Belichick's going to look at him and go, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be Josh Allen that beats us.
Yeah. And I said in the Cowboys game, when we said what happened with the Cowboys game, I said, well, the Bills took the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. Like that was my first analysis of this game. The Bills took the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. And that's not me saying that Josh Allen is a shit quarterback that makes them lose. It's me saying Josh Allen is the type of quarterback that will win you a game if you use him the right way, in the right time, in the right positions. And that's okay. don't throw any interceptions, use the run game, and we're a good roster and we're a good team. We'll just beat them first, and then we can fucking showboat later. Like all of that kind of thing. We'll up your numbers for the MVP. We'll do all of that stuff later. It feels like they're always trying to go, Josh Allen winners the game. Like they blow the whistle from the first quarter and it's Josh Allen winners the game. Like we said it with the going into the Chargers, we said they're not going to run the ball the same amount with James Cook. Now, James Cook had 2 fumbles, one of which wasn't a fumble, but James Cook had James Cook had 2 fumbles, which obviously isn't great for your run game, but they also went away from the run far too quickly against the Chargers. And if they just stuck with the run, they would have hit the point spread. Now they're going to go and they're going to play the Patriots, and the Patriots coming off a good win in Denver as well. Like, let's not forget that Bailey Zappi seemed to snap out of playing shit football after the first quarter and remembered that he actually knows how to play football again. So yeah, I don't think the Bills are good for a big point spread ever, and I definitely don't think against the Patriots. I think it's a crazy one to me.
And do the Bills overlook the Patriots because they have to deal with Miami next week?
Yeah, also freezing cold in Buffalo never amounts to big point games and all of that kind of stuff as well. So there's so many factors for it to not be a big point spread. Do you know what? That might be the game that I would go, yeah, that's the money game for me. Look, I think the Bills are going to win, but
you're taking the Patriots plus the points also.
Yeah.
All right.
All the way to the bank.
On to a game that's actually huge for both teams, but it's absolutely huge for the Minnesota Vikings also, oddly. The New Orleans Saints traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the Buccaneers stay in first place, the Vikings have the tiebreaker against the rest of the division. If somebody else goes in, Tampa's got the tiebreaker for the wild card against the Vikings. So the Vikings are the biggest Tampa fans right now. They're 2.5-point favorites at home. I like what Baker Mayfield's doing in Tampa, and it oddly came out this week. From there, the players and that organization love Baker as much as they love Tom Brady.
Well,
nobody's talking about like he's as good as Tom Brady. What they're saying is he is absolutely loved in that locker room by the people, which I think is awesome for Baker because Baker has gotten such a bad rap. Oh, he's an asshole. He's not a good teammate. He's not this. He's not that. And I think it goes back to we're going to argue at some point, not me and you, but the world's going to argue at some point. Kevin Stefanski and the Browns handled him so fucking wrong.
So bad.
From the jump. I'm taking Baker minus the 2.5 in this game. Might be because I need them to win, but I still think they're going to win.
Yeah, I've been a Bucs fan all year. Like, I've not understood why they started off hot and then in the middle of this team should have already won this division. The Bucs team. They went cold in the middle of the season, and to me it was inexplicable. Like, I couldn't understand why with that wide receiver call, the way that Baker Mayfield wasn't playing badly, the wide receiver call was playing well, and they were still losing games, but not by not scoring enough points. It was inexplicable to me how the Bucs.
Maybe it was just a new system for Baker. I don't know.
Yeah, got to. But Baker was still playing well. Anyway, didn't really get it. But now what has happened is they've got a few wins and Baker's got his confidence back. And Baker Mayfield as a confident quarterback is something else. Now, the fact that he lost his confidence in the first place is amazing to me because that was his best quality. Like that, when he first came out, he had to walk on. He'd had to walk on onto 2 separate teams and became the first overall pick in the draft. Like, if you don't have the biggest bollocks in the world in terms of confidence in that point, like, how did he lose that? That's got to be poor coaching somewhere down the line and making him play hurt and making him look shit because he decided to come out and give you a hand because you were playing hurt. So I love Baker Mayfield in this game. Now, the Saints have had it over the Buccaneers in the past few seasons. So
and they got talent everywhere. Like, that's the weird thing about the Saints is they are so fucking talented, but they don't play up to that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're hitting 2 organizations and 2 quarterbacks in very different circumstances where the Saints have seem to lost confidence in their talent, and the Bucks seem to elevate what they've got going on and have become a much more confident team. And I'm going to trust the Bucks in this one to get it done. Bucks -2.5.
All right. Now we're going to talk about the Panthers traveling to the Jaguars. The Jags are 6.5-point favorites. I don't know what the fuck is going on in Jacksonville. They look like a different team every fucking week. Panthers are playing better than they were. Like Bryce Young seems to finally be starting to get a little bit of a groove, look pretty good in the Packers game. I don't think they have much talent on that team, which really hurts. I think Bryce Young's eating a lot of shit. I think now CJ Stroud, I think, is a better quarterback and is going to be a better NFL quarterback. But I think Bryce Young looks a lot better in Texas than he does in Carolina if that draft goes differently. So, I don't think Bryce Young is the problem in Carolina. I still don't they just don't have the talent. And Jacksonville should be beating the shit out of some of these teams. They're not. But I think Jacksonville gets it together this week and wins this game. I'm going to take Jacksonville by 6.5. Wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville won by less than that and I lose this bet, but I still think Jacksonville wins, so I'm going to take them with 6.5.
Yeah, so that was the best game of Bryce Young's young career. And they did it obviously off the back of his other best game where they beat the Falcons in the steroiding rain. So he should be more confident. Now, a lot of that is due to the Packers'
awful.
Chuck Berry's defensive coordinating is awful. We always say prevent defense is the fastest way to let a team back into a game. They're talking about
keeping him, Maddie.
Great. Good for you, right?
Like Joe Barry has been shit no matter where he's been in the NFL. And they're talking about keeping this guy. And I don't usually call people in this profession clowns, but this dude's a fucking clown when it comes to running a defense.
Yeah, and it's as soon as they get up by, they're situationally just horrible. They're really bad, and we'll talk more about it in the Packers game. But the quickest way to let a team back into a game is by playing prevent defense. So you've got to make sure they get up by a lot before you start playing prevent. So Bryce Young's best game, it's important to remember his two best games in the NFL is one, he threw for one touchdown. I think they scored 9 points, something like that. And then the second one is basically against total prevent defense. But it's also important to remember his best wide receiver is Adam Thielen, who the Vikings weren't sure was their third, maybe even their fourth best wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think it was at the price, right? Because he's getting fucking $16 million a year or something like that. So I think it was at the price. Adam Thielen would be an amazing number 2 for that team if they had a legitimate number 1. But DJ Chark is not DJ Moore. And I didn't think DJ Moore was necessarily a number 1. So I think they sitting on a team with a bunch of 2s and 3s and you expecting a young quarterback to do something. Their offensive line isn't very good. And
offensive line is horrible.
And their defense is better than they look because the defense never gets off the fucking field.
Yeah. Yeah. The defense is if they get their whole thing in the draft now, because you've given away your top picks, you've given away a lot in the draft for Bryce Young.
I don't know how much cap room they have, but they better have a lot to go sign some free agents.
Yeah. You gave away DJ Moore as well, who would have been very helpful for Young as well. But the DJ Moore seems to be the reason that you got Young. Anyway, so they're a team that's wounded, but a team that is even more wounded is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Trevor Lawrence has been injured 4 times with 4 different injuries across 5 games. Four different injuries in 5 games, which is pretty incredible. And the Jags seem to have just totally lost confidence in themselves. They seem to totally have lost their way.
They do have $40 million in cap space next year.
Yeah, the Panthers. So they'll be a fun team to have an eye on because you've got to make Young look good in his second year. So any wide receivers out there are going to get the bag to go to the Panthers. Yeah. Yeah, any wide receivers who have decided they don't get paid enough, just call up Carolina, and they're going to pay you a lot of money for.
Their
If you're
problem
any
too is if you're a
any
head coach, do you really want that job because they fire head coaches
Yeah,
so quick?
yeah, they're not the head like Antonio Pierce. If he doesn't get the Raiders job, Carolina, like that's the level of coach that they should be looking at really,
Um,
in Carolina, because like
yeah,
Bill
Trevor
Belichick's not
Lawrence.
going to go there.
Back to your point, Trevor Lawrence has had some really bad injury issues this year, like unlucky.
Yeah. So if how much of this game is CJ Beathard is what I want to know before I pick a 6.5 point spread. Like 6.5 seems a lot to me. So again, I'm going to say the Jags win the game. I think they'll win the game by 3. Give me the Panthers plus 6.5 because I think the Panthers have just got enough. Bryce Young is playing just enough football to keep it within a touchdown.
All right. Well, the surging Rams are traveling to the descending New York Giants. They're 5.5 point favorites on the road traveling to New York. I mean, I like the Rams. I like the Rams minus 5.5 in this game. I mean, the Giants, even with the fun of Tommy Cutlets, even though he went out and all of that, they don't have an offensive line. I think Tommy Cutlets was sacked over 30 times since he started, which is just insane to think about that. And I believe this year alone, they've given up 78 sacks on the quarterback.
They were pretty wild.
You can't win giving up that many sacks. And the Giants are they overachieved last year, which makes them look even worse this year.
Yeah, they overachieved last year. Their quarterback goes out. Obviously, their quarterback's Daniel Jones, so I'm not sure how much they really lost. Because Tyrod Taylor if Tyrod Taylor didn't also get injured and Tommy DeVito didn't come.
Hey, Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, that could be this could be the last time we see Tommy DeVito in the NFL. By the way, like he's going to go be a used car salesman somewhere, like Cutlets car sales, dude, like something like that.
Those games guaranteed him fucking 7 years as a backup in this league.
Yeah, he gets to pick the Giants or the Jets because it has to be New York. So he whichever one was his favorite growing up as a kid, like whatever. So yeah, I think Tyrod Taylor is a much better quarterback than DeVito. Tyrod Taylor looked good against the Eagles. I think he's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones as well. So great. The Rams, how the Eagles were a -9 spread against the Giants last week, and the Rams are only -5.5 blows my mind. Like that's a little crazy to me. I personally like the Eagles are a better team than the Rams, but the Rams have on a much more of a hot streak, and they win games by putting teams to the sword at points as well. The Rams have an excellent run game. Their wide receiver core of Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, and Cooper Kupp is that's one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL. Matthew Stafford is incredible. And playing some of the best football of his career as well. And then you've also got a guy called Aaron Donald who gets to go up against this Giants offensive line with some help in the defensive end spots as well. So I think this is Rams -5.5 all day long. Karen Williams is going to take me to our fantasy football championship victory for my second victory in our fantasy football league in 3 years.
You know what happens when you start talking shit like that, right?
Yeah, Karen Williams is going to go for 2 yards and 5 fumbles and lose me entirely.
All right. I had to switch my fucking phone charger quit working. I didn't realize my phone's almost dead and I almost lost all my notes here. All right. So we got the Raiders traveling to the Colts. The Colts are favored by 3.5 in this game. I think that's a wild point spread. I think Gardner Minshew is way better than Aiden. I think the Raiders defense is pretty good, but I think they looked better than they are against the Chiefs. And I think the Colts team is actually sneaky good, even with Gardner Minshew. So give me the Colts at home -3.5.
Yeah, I mean the Colts just got beat by the Falcons, only scoring 10 points, which is an interesting thing. But I think that's more of an anomaly rather than the rule of what the Colts have been this year. The Gardner Minshew has played really well again. He's basically secured himself a backup quarterback spot for his entire football playing life because of his personality and character and the fact that he's a good quarterback. He's probably going to be a starting quarterback at some point in the NFL next year, whether that's starting from the start of the season or coming in for somebody who's injured, whether that's with the Colts or not. So Gardner Minshew is good as well. Michael Pittman being out of this game is a big deal. For that, is he still out? I know he was out last week.
I thought they said that he was going to play, but I'm going to check real quick.
Yeah. All good.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's back
yeah,
at practice, and he's
cool.
at full practice, and he cleared protocol. So
yeah, so Michael Pittman being in then is a big deal. We'll see how he's recovered from that monster hit, which I think Casey shouldn't have been gone for the entire season. But anyway, that's different as well. Pittman's a big plus for them in a game where they didn't have him last week, so he makes a big difference. I'll take the Colts -3.5 here as well.
Yeah, I think the NFL has to start doing something too about stop with these penalties when they lead with the shoulder and they hit another dude's shoulder first or his chest, and then the shoulder comes up to the head. But fucking, there's nothing a defensive player can do if I hit you correctly and you either duck or we both just slide up. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some more done.
Yeah. The weird thing about the Casey one is the amount of mitigation that was there. So, like, Pittman is falling to the ground quite heavily already, and then Casey comes in and wipes him out. Look, in rugby, player safety is on the tackler. So if you accidentally hit him in the head, well, that's your fucking fault. Like, you shouldn't have done that. Like, you should have been more careful with where you're putting your shoulder. It doesn't mean that you're suspended for an entire season. Like, and is also, what's crazy about
not a shot at rugby, but dudes aren't flying at a 4-2 across the field trying to aim while another guy's ducking. You know what I mean? It's a wild play.
The tackle technique is the tackle strategy is quite different as well. So obviously, football is a game of most of the time, if you have the most possessions, you win, right? Whereas rugby is a game of like, just don't. They can have the ball, that's fine, but don't let them break the tackle. Don't let them, like, most of the time, the way you lose rugby games is by giving break tackles. So what frustrates me so much in American football quite a lot of the time, just to go on a divergent, is that torpedoing out of nowhere to try and knock the ball out instead of just going, okay, we're just going to make this tackle. We'll go to the next down. We won't lose the touchdown here, and stuff like that, like a rugby style tackle. So it is different. If you're coming up and you're hitting somebody in the head in rugby, you are doing something wrong anyway. But American football players, you do it all the time, and it is unfortunate.
There is a video I should need to find on YouTube that I saw like a week ago where it was rugby players who ended up playing football, and we're like, tackling's nowhere near the same.
No. It's a different.
But they break it down like what their thought is in rugby compared to what it is, and like for people like me who don't watch rugby, it was a very informative video.
Yeah, the goal of the tackle is different in rugby. Like, you do get rugby style tackle. Like, I don't understand when they've already beat you, why a DB is trying to come in and wipe the ball out. Like, for me, in an open field tackle, the goal is just get the guy on the fucking ground. Like, no need to come in and wipe the dude out. But otherwise, yeah, it's a totally different tackling thing. So Casey was unfortunate. It's good that Pittman's good, and Pittman is playing in this game, which I think makes a big difference to the Colts offense.
All right. Well, then we got Tennessee Titans traveling to the Houston Texans, and the Texans fighting right now to get into the playoffs. They are 5-point favorites at home, so it's -5 on the Texans at home.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer to me that I'm taking the Texans at a -5 here. CJ Stroud
CJ's
is back.
likely to start. He's likely to start.
Yeah, yeah. It seems that but everybody seems to think that CJ Stroud's starting. Nico Collins is back in the game, which means Noah Brown goes down to second wide receiver, which is a big deal. I think in that offense. I think the Texans come out and they play that. What gets overshadowed by the fact that CJ Stroud is great is that the Texans also have an awesome defense who, even though they conceded 36 points, turned over Joe Flacco twice as well. And if Davis Mills can make the most of those turnovers, they're probably in a much closer game at the end of that game as well. With CJ Stroud there. So the Texans, and is Will Levis in or out? Do you know? He's
I
your
think
starting
he's
quarterback
in,
in fantasy,
but
isn't he?
I'm making sure.
But yeah, Ryan Tannehill played himself out of a starting quarterback
He
role.
practiced yesterday.
Okay, yeah, so Will Levis is in then. Ryan Tannehill played himself out of a starting quarterback role with his play last week. Not a starting quarterback role in Tennessee, just a starting quarterback role anywhere. Like, he's now a backup quarterback for most teams in the NFL. Really good one, don't get me wrong, but still a backup quarterback. With Will Levis and CJ Stroud there, this is going to be a fun game. But give me the Texans defense over the Titans defense any day.
I agree. Texas -5. All right. Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the Seattle Seahawks. Everybody in the NFC is a Steelers fan this week. The Seahawks are favored 3.5 at home. Give me Pittsburgh in the money line. Mason Rudolph, George Pickens. That defense is going to play up to par. I do not trust Seattle. I think they have a better offense all around, but I think that Pickens and why am I going blank on their tight end? Help me out here, Maddie. Freiermuth are enough to work the Seattle defense to open up the running lanes. I say you keep Najee Harris off the field, but do what you want, Steelers, because you guys keep bringing Najee in for some reason when he is obviously your second best back, but that's okay. But give me the Steelers in the money line. I think the Steelers beat the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are now dead.
I think that's crazy. Seahawks have two big wins. The Seahawks have an excellent wide receiver core. They have solid quarterback play out of either Geno Smith or Drew Lock, both solid quarterbacks, it seems, this year. Their defense seems to go completely underrated in the league this year. Their rookie corners are fantastic. They get decent pressure. They're not obviously amazing. Mike Tomlin got great win last week for the Steelers. They played really well. George Pickens went off, really made up for quitting on his team the week before. So I do get, like, the Steelers are also a really good team, but to me, the Seahawks, one of the more underrated teams in the NFL. Give me the Seahawks in this one at -3.5.
That's funny because I think they're one of the most overrated teams. So that's how much we differ on that one.
That must mean they're properly rated, right?
Maybe. That's actually a good way to put it. Maybe that is it.
Yeah.
I think, though, the Steelers are fighting for the playoffs too right now. I think they all rally behind Rudolph and Tomlin. I think the Seahawks upset the game, but that might be just because, and subconsciously, it benefits me if they lose.
Yeah, I think Mason Rudolph good for 1 or 2 games. Like, I think there's never been so many quarterbacks.
You have to be great with Freiermuth and Pickens and Johnson. I think you just have to be good. Like, I don't think you have to be great.
I really don't think they use Freiermuth in that offense nearly enough. Obviously, he's been my fantasy tight end, but on top of that, I don't think they use him nearly enough, like, at all, in their play. I think he's massive bodied tight end who is as good in the run game as he is in the pass game. Like, he should be, he's Mark Andrews. Like, to me, I think he should be getting way more time in their offense, way more targets, most importantly.
So we have the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are at home favored by 6.5. I think Browning's played good for them, but I think the coach turns back into a pumpkin, and I think the Chiefs win this game. Any higher than 6.5, I wouldn't love, but give me the -6.5 in the Chiefs, because even though they're not playing their best ball, I still think they're better than the Bengals without Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that the Chiefs still have one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL. Like, people don't talk about this Chiefs defense enough. I don't expect Patrick Mahomes is going to play with as many mistakes as he did last week. I think largely a lot of it's down to frustration in his team, which, I mean, can't be getting much better either. But I think we've seen. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we've seen the regression of Jake Browning over the past in the last game that they played. Now I think we saw that Jake Browning, again, good for a few games, but once you figure them out, and you probably move on to the next guy. There's got to be some sort of backup QB sweet spot where you get the two amazing games that you get from your backup QB when he first gets in, and then you cut them just before they fall off a cliff. So if you cut Josh Dobbs just before he fell off a cliff and moved on to Nick Mullins, and then Nick Mullins had his 2 great games, you managed to then get rid of Nick Mullins just before his big bad game as well, then the Vikings are already in the playoffs, right? There's got to be a way.
Like, what I see going on in Kansas City too is it's too much not playing within the play. Like, Patrick Mahomes is not in a rhythm in the play. Like, all of his plays are coming from him breaking outside, scrambling around, that second play, which is fine, but you're not playing within the system. And I think that's a big problem right now in Kansas City is Patrick Mahomes is not playing within the offensive system. He's not getting the ball out on time, on timing routes in the pocket, which I think would make the game a lot easier for what's going on in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think they're also regretting whatever happened with Orlando Brown. Like, whatever happened with Orlando Brown and the reason that he's not a Chief anymore, I think.
Yeah, he wanted to play left tackle,
and yeah, I think they're definitely regretting that, because since the Super Bowl where he was hobbling around the entire time against the Bucs, where the Bucs just ate him alive because it was backup quarterbacks, they basically said that's never going to happen again. We're never going to let that happen. And they've had a good offensive line since then. So now he's playing with a bad offensive line. And Patrick Mahomes has always been amazing at ad-libbing and playing outside the play. But we saw his best season was when, because Tyreek Hill wasn't there, he was forced to play within the play, which was last year where they won the Super Bowl. And that, to me, was his best season. So the amount of ad-libbing isn't good, but I think the amount of ad-libbing is because he doesn't trust his wide receivers. He thinks they need to be totally open, or he's going to throw an interception.
Do you think Eric Bieniemy has anything to do with this offense not being as good?
I would, if the Commanders hadn't fallen off in the past 2-3 weeks as well. Like, so the Commanders looked great at the start of the season, but now the Commanders have fallen off, and it seems people have read Eric Bieniemy's offense now. And maybe, look, we started to read the Chiefs offense when Eric Bieniemy was there. Like, we started to read it, but then Andy Reid was also adding on top of Bieniemy's offense there.
Hey,
whereas in Washington, it's just Bieniemy.
Did you notice when you bring in Matt Nagy to any team, they just go to shit? I'm just saying.
He weirdly looked like he was doing a good quarterback coaching job at the start of the year. And now, yeah, I don't think it's Matt Nagy's fault.
I'm blaming Matt Nagy. Fuck it. All right. So you got the Chiefs also in this game?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs in that one.
All right. We got the Chargers traveling to the Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.5, even with Jarrett Stidham starting this game. Jarrett Stidham has magical powers, Maddie. I have figured this out. Jarrett Stidham said, you know what? You guys should just bench Derek Carr and let me play. And the Raiders are like, cool. Now they're like, just bench Russell Wilson and let me play. Subliminally, Stidham's got some magical powers. He's the Voldemort of the fucking NFL. This dude is pulling off some wizard shit. I don't know why Stidham gets stuck in the middle of these fucking things. He's not a bad backup quarterback, though. The
No.
Chargers look like complete fucking ass. So the -3.5 doesn't surprise me all that much. And I mean, it's a battle of who gives a shit on the quarterbacks. So, yeah, give me the Broncos -3.5. They rally behind Stidham, and Sean Payton shows that he's a better coach than me and everybody's been giving him credit for this year.
Yeah, Jared Stidham came in that game as the Raider and threw for 400 yards, didn't he? Like,
Yeah,
straight off the bat. But I think what's happened here is Jared Stidham has made friends with Tommy DeVito, and Tommy DeVito has some boys who have visited the owner of the things and with a baseball bat and a
you're like,
suggestion.
hey, we think it'd be in your fucking best interest if maybe you just fucking went out and started Stiddy. Because Stidham played so good with the Raiders, I started calling him Stiddy. Like the dude got a nickname from me. He was balling out so good,
Yeah, so DeVito definitely has some friends that are in construction, right? Got to have done, and like they made best mates and went round to the Broncos.
Hey, a friend of mine needs
the Sean Payton's house and just gone. We could, yeah. But look, Stitty's a good quarterback. What do you think about the whole Russell Wilson situation? Does it mean he's like they're saying it's to prevent injury, but to me it means he's cut next year?
Well, it's the same thing with Derek Carr. Like, so okay, he's guaranteed $39 million next year, no matter what. If he gets injured and cannot pass a physical by March 1st, I think it is, or 4th, they owe him another $37 million on top.
Why is that? Why is that?
Injury guarantees.
Right. Okay.
So they're doing the same thing with Derek Carr because they would have owed Carr that injury money if something happened. So he's definitely gone. They're just going to cut him after this year, and he's going to be a free agent. And some team's going to overpay for him. We'll see it happen. But
Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's Minnesota. So, like, I hope you're right, Atlanta. I think our coaching staff and our team loves Kirk Cousins. I'm not sure our front office loves Kirk Cousins, but JJ just came out and really went to bat for Kirk the other day. So I think that helps get Kirk back into the building.
I think
JJ's extension
Kirk
done.
Could be there. Yeah.
But I don't know what you do moving forward, and I'm sure they have some kind of plan for quarterback. But what it says to me is they are done with the Russell Wilson experiment, and Sean Payton probably didn't even want Russell to begin with.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's happened with. So clearly something happened after that game, right? Where Sean Payton's gone fucking crazy at Russ, like during the game on the headset, going absolutely mental. And then I reckon something's happened in that week where Russell Wilson has pissed Sean Payton off, and we've not heard about it. So good on the Broncos, and they've just gone, right, that's it. Then we're cutting you, like we're done. Jared Stidham's not a bad guy to bring in. What do you make of? I mean, Sean Payton trying to make a go of it with Taysom Hill. What do you reckon of the Broncos trying to bring in Justin Fields? But can they put together a package to trade for anybody? They've given away all of their picks. They have no cap money because of
I
dead
did
cap.
have a thought. I did have a thought, but who knows? I thought maybe at the end of the year, Sean Payton calls up his good buddy over there in Dallas and goes, "Hey, Jerry, you want that fourth back that you gave up? I mean, Trey Lance, send him over. We'll give you that fourth back." And maybe I did think of that. Maybe he gives Jerry Jones, his good buddy, a call and see if they can work something out for like a Trey Lance, and then you ride with him or somebody like that, and then you draft a quarterback. Or maybe you bring in a Mac Jones, who's a lot like Drew Brees, I'm not as accurate, but like style of quarterback. You grab a Mac Jones maybe from him, because I think New England's obviously done with Mac Jones. I'm not sure, but I'm sure they have a plan. I just can't foresee what their plan is, because you're never guaranteed to get a quarterback. You know what I mean? And there's not a lot of free agent quarterbacks.
It'd be so interesting if it was Derek Carr.
Yeah,
they bring in
Derek Carr seems to be proving everybody right instead of wrong, though.
Yeah, which is quite sad. Yeah, I like Derek Carr. And anyway, Russ. There's a few landing spots for Russ as well. You can have. So you've got teams like Atlanta, where I think they'd overpay for you. You've got teams like, I don't know. I could see him in Washington.
He's an upgrade at both places. He's a fucking upgrade at both places.
Yeah. Even if he's not Russell Wilson, he's an upgrade. Like that contract has come down significantly, or will come down significantly, especially because Russ is still making the money for that year as well. So Russ will be happy to cash in. So you've got the Commanders or the Giants would take him as well. Like there's plenty of places for Russell Wilson to go. Also, it doesn't mean Russell Wilson's out of the league. It just means at that money on his contract, he's out of Denver. That's what
absolutely. Yeah. His time in Denver is over. There is no more let's ride. It's let's ride out of town because we're done.
Yeah, we're done now. Let's see you later. I think this game, I'm going to take the Broncos in this one because the Broncos defense is far superior. I think the Chargers had their new coach bump last week, and when they didn't get it done against the Bills, Jeff has that defense playing much better than Brandon Staley, the Wonder Kid, though, which is pretty impressive. So we'll see what goes on there. It's funny that the Broncos have downgraded from Russell Wilson to Jared Stidham and still have the best quarterback in this matchup, though. Easton Stick has a few decent rushing yards in their game, but otherwise is no good. Yeah, I'm surprised that he's a backup quarterback in the a first call backup quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not sure he will be after this year. I think,
no.
I think he might play better in practice than he does in real games, and they thought he was better than he was.
He looks against pressure. He looks terrified. I've never seen a quarterback look like they shit themselves when pressure is coming. So he's obviously not read the pressure, and then he just panics instantly as soon as the pressure comes, and you see him try and break the pocket immediately before looking at his first read, which is pretty wild. And obviously the Chargers have never the Chargers don't help him out at all, and the fact that there's injuries all over that Chargers team. Broncos bring loads of pressure. They'll win this game by 3.5. Who have the Broncos still got to play?
Because there was a time when Easton Stick was thought to be somebody who was going to come in and be a starting quarterback for somebody, and it just never happened.
Yeah. It's interesting. Interesting guy. He can't handle pressure. He really can't. The move down to Jared Stidham actually doesn't hurt them that much.
Maybe Stidham's their plan until they find somebody else, right?
Sean Payton's got a long run in that Broncos organization anyway. So
they have to eat fucking $65 million or something crazy off of cutting over the next 2 years. So that's going to hurt their
Sean Payton's. Yeah, so Sean Payton's got time, which is good. And you build everything up around Jared Stidham. If you find a backup quarterback on the market like Trey Lance, like a Cooper Rush kind of guy, if you get your hands on Mac Jones, I like that pick. I didn't think of that beforehand. I really like that idea. Justin Fields as a Denver Bronco, maybe even try and get Taysom Hill out of New Orleans. See what that kind of thing takes. Then you see what happens as the Broncos. But weirdly, the downgrade to Jared Stidham, he's better than Easton Stick, and he might be better than Aiden O'Connell as well.
I heard people go, "Oh, he's going to get Drew Brees to come back and play." I was like, bro, I just watched an interview with Drew Brees where he said he literally has to play catch with his left hand with his son because he can no longer throw with his right arm.
Yeah, Drew Brees couldn't really throw with his right arm further than 15 meters down the field when he left the game.
Right. So, I mean, I heard him say, though, that injury fucked him up, is not when he happened, but later on in life now that injuries become such a problem, he can't even throw with his right arm anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay. A lot of that made sense. So
you'd have more of a chance with Tom Brady, coming out, if that's the one that you want to pick.
Yeah.
You probably weirdly have more of a chance of Tony Romo coming out and still playing than Drew Brees.
That poor guy, like his back.
Oh shit, yeah.
So we have the final game is Sunday Night Football. No more Monday Night Football until the playoffs, which is weird, but that's how they do it. We have the Green Bay Packers traveling to Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 1 with rookie Jaren Hall starting the game. He looked good in the little bit we got to see him. And to be fair, he did only play, 1 drive, 2 drives, but he is 1-0 as a starter in the NFL.
Yeah. I like what I saw of Jaren Hall, and this wide receiver core can help any quarterback, really.
He's accurate.
All the Vikings,
which, you know me, that's my main thing I look at first, and he's accurate. So
when you have a good wide receiver core and a really good defense, again, there's a few defenses that are underrated in the NFL. I said the Chiefs earlier. The Vikings are the other most underrated defense in the NFL right now.
They are rated number 2 defense overall since week 6. If you're looking for weird stats, because you can make stats say crazy shit. But.
Yeah, you can make stats say crazy shit, but that's not that weird. Like a turnaround like that at this time in the season, like, isn't that weird? Like, okay, if we were in week 9 and people are saying like, oh, we've had the best defense for 3 weeks, it's like, oh, who have you played then? Like, that could be what's going on. But there's clearly been a change there where they around week 6, it's like the Cowboys since the bye have been on a tear, like offensively and things like that.
That's what I actually love about the Vikings, though. They saw a problem, even though it was a first year, and they're like, we're going to move on and get a new defensive guy in here. Like they didn't compound the problem by trying to be right. Do you know what I mean? And teams do that. They compound problems by trying to prove they were right.
Yeah. So Brian Flores, a great defense, goes against the Packers. All Jaren Hall has to do is not throw interceptions, and they'll win this game for me. The Packers are and if you want to go up against a defense that'll help you not throw interceptions, go up against this defense, because they'll do everything they can situationally to help you in the game.
Jair Alexander suspended by the Packers for that coin flip, so he's out as both teams are battling for the playoffs.
That's wild to me, right? Find the guy.
There's more to it. He has to be acting like Joey Asshole in the locker room too. Like, there's no way you suspend one of the. It's so hard to even bring it out of my mouth. One of the best corners in the league, in Jair, because he's a Packer. I have a hard time even fucking saying it, but he is.
He shut down JJ as well.
Yeah, they both have games against each other where he shut him down and then JJ went off for like 137 or whatever. But he is one of the best corners, like man-to-man corners in the NFL. And you just suspended him for going out for the coin toss when he wasn't picked to go out for the coin toss. And yes, he almost fucked it up by saying we want to be on defense instead of we want to defer. But is that really this is the NFL? Guys do wild shit and never get suspended. So to me, there has to be more to what happened.
Yeah, well, he made himself a captain, right? He made himself a captain.
He just decided to walk out there with them because he's from Charlotte.
Yeah, so he was refused the captaincy though, because most of the time, apparently, if you're from a place and you go and you want to be the captain for that time where you're from a place, they usually say yes. And the Packers said no. It's also one of their premium players who are usually captains as well. Like, he's got to be a shitty leader. Like, you're so worried about him being a captain for one game in his hometown. And it's not like you're playing anybody decent. You're playing against the worst team in the NFL.
He's either their best or their second best defensive player, too. Like, because you can argue Douglas or him, whatever you want to argue.
Rashawn Gary.
Douglas, but like, I meant Gary and Douglas. I said Rasul Douglas because they just got rid of him. But but you could argue that one of those two. But like, you're literally gonna bench one of your best players on your team over the coin toss.
Yeah, in what is effectively a playoff game with a division rival.
Yeah, like the
as
Vikings
well.
and the Packers are all in playoff mode right now because you got to win to get in, right? So
Yeah, you guys are all
both
must
of us
win all
need
the way
Seattle
through.
to fucking lose.
Yeah, you
So
guys are all winning in, not winning in, but win to get to even
yeah,
be at
you
the
gotta
table.
win to even have
Yeah,
a shot, though. And so
yeah,
yeah, it's really weird to me that he's suspended. That was one of the weird because when I read that he was suspended, and then I'm reading the article and I'm like, okay, when are you going to get to the point where why he was suspended? And then the article was over, and I'm like, wait, did this
yeah,
motherfucker really get suspended over a coin toss? So like, I've been really busy this week, so I didn't get to watch Pat McAfee until like 10 o'clock last night, and they get to it, and Ty Schmidt's talking about it, and they're talking about it, and I'm like, all right, so where's the suspension part? Where's the like? Yeah, he went out for the coin toss. Why is there a suspension, even though he wasn't supposed to? And it literally, that's why he's suspended. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I've been watching football since I was like fucking 4. You know what I mean? I've been watching football for over 40 years. This is wild.
yeah. I think it's weakness of coaching. Personally, I think if you've
That
got
front
to do
office
that,
too.
yeah, I think if you've got to do that, then you don't have confidence in your own leadership and things like that. I worry.
I've been asking all
'Cause,
year, can LaFleur coach without Rodgers? I don't know the
yeah,
answer. I've just been asking the question.
yeah, because obviously with Aaron Rodgers, that personality obviously run the front office up the wrong way, and they end up shitting on Rodgers and making the whole situation very toxic and
And
all
I
of that
felt
kind of
like that
thing.
got very personal between Rodgers and Gutekunst,
Yeah,
like not LaFleur, but Gutekunst and Rodgers. And it makes me wonder, is Gutekunst petty?
yeah,
Is he spiteful?
I
Like,
think so.
why is your best? And I love that Alexander got suspended. Don't get me wrong. Like, good. He can't cover JJ. Fucking great.
Yeah,
Love that. But, like, what makes you go through? And Packer fans are losing their fucking minds, which I don't blame them. Because if it's literally just this, your front office is fucked. If there's
so
more
petty.
to it, then the fans don't know. And I don't want to use they have a right to know because you don't have a right to know shit. But if you wanted to make it land a little better, you might want to let the fans know of your team that there's a little more to this than you believe. And does this mean they try to trade him in the offseason now? Because like has it gone so far that they're suspending him over some petty shit? Because I can see you being irate that he went out there because he didn't have permission and he almost fucked up the call.
Mhm.
But if that was CeeDee Lamb, if that was JJ, if that was Christian McCaffrey, if that was anybody worth a shit, we wouldn't even have known he wasn't a captain. They would have never said a
Yeah,
fucking word. We'd have just went on like he was supposed to be out there, had to talk about it in private. You know what I mean? Nobody would have leaked that shit. But they made it
yeah.
a big deal by suspending him. I would have never known he wasn't supposed to be out there. None of us would have if they wouldn't have leaked that shit.
Yeah, and obviously there's media outlets that would know. Like they hire people to know those things. Like NFL insiders
Yeah,
would
but
know that shit.
NFL lies
But
all
it
the
wouldn't have
time. All they
mattered.
got to say is at
Yeah,
the last minute, we've remembered he was from fucking
Charlotte and then
Charlotte and sent him out there. Like you could lie. Like
yeah.
NFL
And
teams
it
lie
doesn't
all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. And it doesn't matter. It also wouldn't have mattered if it didn't end up in a suspension either. So like, oh, it
Right.
didn't come of anything. Like it just becomes a funny anecdote of something that once happened in the NFL. But now you're putting your playoff future on the line with a guy who has, although he's been burnt by JJ also, he has covered JJ in
He's
Jaron Hall's game,
he covered AJ Brown. Like the
Yeah.
dude has done it against some of the top fucking receivers. Like it kills me to say it, but he's literally a top fucking I don't know where without going through a list, but he is literally a top corner in the NFL, and he's definitely a top 5 man-to-man corner in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, the Packers need this game, and I think they've done nothing but help the Vikings with that entirely. And with the rhetoric around their defensive coordinator and the fact that he's not very good either, it's not going to help. This is the kind of team that you want to go up against if you're Jaron Hall, and all you need to do is not throw interceptions.
Yes. I would feel a lot better, like I said, if TJ Hawkinson was there because it's always great to have a big
Yeah.
tight end that can do
blanket.
some stuff. But Johnny Munt's not the worst, and Oliver catches way better than people give him credit for, which is funny to me because coming out of college, Oliver was known as a receiving tight end. He goes to Baltimore, becomes this really great blocking tight end, and everybody forgets that he can actually catch the fucking ball.
Yeah, so this is kind of happened to Freiermuth, where Freiermuth is an excellent blocker, and then that means that he can't be a receiving tight end. No,
Kittle's
he's just
amazing at
excellent
both. Kittle is amazing at both. Why can't it
Yeah.
So, I don't understand it so much, but all right. We made it through. I'm going to clip out and upload just the picks for everybody too. So if you already watched this, you watched the whole show, but you can let somebody else know if you're watching. I'm going to split the show. It's going to be the full one, and I'm going to put just our picks for week 17 out also as a second video.
Yeah, so you don't have to watch 2 hours and 15 minutes of us trying to get your betting picks ready. Thank you, everybody, if you have been watching all the way through. I've noticed we've got some people in the views who have watched all the way through, so thank you for that.
Hey, Moose has rode some of our picks to some money too. He's told me.
Yeah, so good for him. Maybe we should start betting on our own picks, Jay. But
my wife always tells me if we didn't have to go to the casino, because in Wisconsin, for some reason, it's just Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You have to be in the casino where Moose can sit on his couch in Arizona and just bet. She always told me she would already bet my picks and not tell me if
just so you don't have a heart attack when there's money on the line.
It didn't influence me. And then just at the end of the year go, this is how much we've made or lost.
Oh, well, I think year.
Huh?
1 year, let's start the year with £50 or dollars or whatever each and just bet through and just see where we're at.
I thought even to be funny, even if you just bet $1 per game or $10 per game, whatever, see what happens, right? And just see what it comes out. It would be actually easier to track our picks because 1 or 2 weeks of me missing my pick count and it fucks me up for the whole year. Whereas if we were gambling it, all of our shit would be on that app.
Yeah, we need to take better track of the picks that we've actually made as well next year. Anyway, all New Year's resolutions now. We'll talk about it in the off season. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please do like and subscribe on whatever platform you're looking at and give us a share. We always really appreciate your support.
All right. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.